What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Yeah, hey, Fonzie, woo! Hey, whoa! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We've got the Anycubic Vyper here. Gonna unbox it, get it set up. This should be a very simple setup. It is the Anycubic Vyper, and I have looked kind of ahead at the instruction manual online, and it looks very simple. So should be pretty quick. We're gonna get it out of the box, get it assembled, and start doing some more printing. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. All right. I am assuming this is a box in a box, but I guess we will find out. See how well UPS treated this thing. Doesn't look all beat up, so it should be pretty good. Nope, just a single box. But it's got a lot of foam in it, so it should be packaged pretty well. Pretty well? That extra pretty well? Is that what that means? Slide open since it's got all this wrap on it. All that stuff we don't need. A bunch of these panels to pull out. A bunch of loud trucks driving by my neighborhood. Someone's getting some boulders delivered. There's the filament rack. Some nice touch screens. We'll save the peeling for later. Got your power cable, bag of goodies. You got the USB cable because you can download drivers and run this directly off of your laptop instead of using the SD card. Looks like you've got flash drive there, nozzle, little plastic scraper tool, a bunch of goodies in here. Guess I gotta open it since it's just Ziploc. Zip ties, little plastic scraper tool, nothing special there. You do get your flash drive with the nozzle. This is the USB cable. Little sample roll of filament, white. Full-size SD card that is not labeled, no markings on it. The generic Chinese brand, I guess. We don't even know what size it is until we put it in our laptop. We got your hardware bag here. This should be all the hardware you need to get this set up. So if that's any indication of how easy this setup is going to be, it's just a tiny bag of screws. Nothing special. And some zip ties and a quality control check, and underneath that is the assembly instructions. So full color readout here in English. So this is already looking much easier than the Creality unit I did. Those instructions were very lacking, but we got that done, and that was a lot more involved on the setup as far as this one. With that top piece of foam out of the way, you start getting to the good bits. Anycubic Vyper, you've got cable strapped down to the bed there. You got your upright here that has the extruder on it. And this is really, as far as I know, the only real main piece that you have to mount to the base, and then it's just plugging in wires. So when we get to the setup, we'll get that all taken care of, and it is dual Z-axis. So very consistent on your layers. Not going to get any wobble or anything in it because it is the dual Z-axis. I'm looking forward to printing on this and comparing it to my Ender 3 V2 that I already have. So I think that'll be a good comparison. And this has a slightly, ever so slightly bigger build volume. I think it's like an extra inch in each direction. So not much, but it helps. There's the base here. And voila, there she is. So like I said, we just got to mount the upright onto the base here, plug in some cables, get it powered on, run through some checks, and we should be good to go printing. It does have this nice flex steel base there, which is just magnet down. I'm excited to use that because I have a glass bed on the Ender 3 V2, so it'll be a nice comparison having one of these flexi sheets versus just using the glass bed. The glass bed is nice. I've had really good adhesion on it. I haven't really had an issue with it. The nice thing about that is I just throw the whole bed with the print in the freezer, and then when it's cold it just pops right off. This you should just be able to take off, let it cool a little bit, take it off, flex it, pop it right off. So it should be pretty kind of best of both worlds, I guess. Hopefully this sheet stands up durability wise and takes the test of time, right? So that's everything there. I'm gonna go through and start getting this set up, and then we will get it all powered on and run through the self-leveling procedure and all that good stuff. Get some of the filament loaded up on there. I'll just run through the test stuff that it comes with, the sample, and we will get a little print going. So yeah, don't go anywhere again. Stick around. Assembly time. All right, I got everything laid out here. One thing to mention, it does not come with any tools. Okay, time out. I feel dumb now. Disregard what I said about tools. I pulled the tool tray out. You couldn't hear anything rattling around because they had it all foamed with this cap on it to keep everything secured. You have all your tools in here. You've got your side cutters, and these are like little baby things with a lock to keep them closed. How cute are those? Just wow. Okay. Little Allen key set. You got your open-ended wrenches, all in a cutout foam liner. Okay, so I said earlier, no tools included. This makes up for that, and you got a little extra pull-out square there. I'm probably gonna throw the extra hot end in there, the nozzle, extra nozzle, not extra hot end, extra nozzle. Anyways. But what you will need for this installation is a 4mm and a 3mm Allen driver. I will leave some links to some tools down in the description below, as well as a link to the Anycubic Vyper here. So really basic, just need the two tools, the 4mm, the 3mm, and then you've got a couple bolts. These long bolts here are going to be what's holding the upright on. If my camera would focus, there we go. So you can see the long bolt there, it's only threaded halfway down the shaft.
That's what she said!
And then you want to make sure that the lock washer is on the bolts there. That's going to keep them from backing out over time when this thing is moving around. And then you've got these other 3 bolts here. You've got the 2 short ones and the 1 long one. Those are what's going to be holding the display on. Again, my camera does not like to focus, and I'm dropping screws. Hold on. Hey, we found it. Anyways, there we go. Focus. Focus. I command you. Focus. Anyways, camera doesn't like me, or it loves me too much and it only wants to focus on my pretty face. Either way, that's really it. This is grooved on the sides here where your upright has to go in. So it should sit in and kind of lock into place, and then you can feed the bolts in. You're gonna know it's set properly when it's in those grooves, and then plug in some wires in. So we're gonna get this thing tackled, get it all set up, and power it on, because that's what we want to do, right? There will be a couple zip ties to cut out too. Then you want to make sure you cut those out before you do anything. But you can see it kind of pops into those grooves there. Screws for the Z-axis are going to be on the back side with the extruder on the back side, so you've got a clean clean front here with your nozzle and everything there. And we'll just feed these bolts through. These are the long bolts that hold the upright are the 4mm Allen driver. So I'm just gonna set this on its side so I can get these bolts in, and we'll get them all tightened down. I like to, whenever I'm building anything, this is good practice for really anything, get all the bolts in, either hand tight or just kind of keep them loose. That way all your bolts are in before you tighten them up. If you tighten one bolt up first and try to get the other bolts in, you might really have trouble getting the other bolts in because everything's not going to be lined up properly. So get them all in loose, and then you can go around and tighten them all up. Hello. That side is loosely in but slotted into the groove, so you can just kind of angle it from side to side to get both the uprights secured. And like I said, you can see how I just left them loose. That way it's going to be easier to get both sides started. And then you can just start tightening them down, making sure that they slide into those grooves. It's very important to keep everything lined up. Your prints will thank you. And you really don't have to Hulk out.
Hulk out!
On these bolts, just tighten them down. That lock washer is going to keep them from backing out. Just make sure they're secure. Really, one ugga-dugga is all you need. You don't need to throw the wrath of God at them. All right, I'm gonna go wash my hands because I got some grease on them from touching those Z-axis screws. So I'm gonna get that off.
That's what she said.
And then we're gonna put the screen on, and we're pretty much done. How simple is that? Back, clean hands. All right, so these instructions are actually laid out really nice, and it's a simple setup, so that really helps. Yeah, just pay attention to the sizing of the screws when putting the screen on. You've got the two shorter screws that go down at the base, and then the long screw goes in vertically from the top. That is going to hold the screen on. So that's going to be your 3mm driver. I'm just using a standard driver instead of the T-handle because I prefer these. I just don't have one of these in a 4mm. Otherwise I would have been using that too. But screw these on here. Again, just getting them all started loosely, which is good practice, like I said before, to not drop your screws. Anyways. You can cinch them all down once you got them all in loosely. So after that, really is just plugging in all the cables. They do give you a diagram in here, so it shows you your print head, screen, everything to plug in. So the Teflon tube, I'm just gonna pop that in. Make sure it's pushed all the way in. It should lock and not pull out. And then that black washer will release. You push it in and you can release to get it out. But make sure it is under the arm here. If you go over like that, it's just gonna bog the machine down and your hot end's not gonna be able to go all the way to the bed, and you really won't be able to print anything. So make sure it's fed under there, pushed all the way in. You can give a little tug on it to make sure it's not gonna back out on you. Make sure it's in there securely. And then we can go around and get all these connections put on. This is where we like to time-lapse stuff. So these are nice. Kind of reminds me of building a computer. With inserting a graphics card or inserting your memory. It's got these two tabs that are open, and then when you push it in, it locks. That's so satisfying. All right, and then to release it, you just pull them out like that if you ever need to unhook the cable. But that's gonna keep the cable from walking itself out. It's locked in there. Again, make sure it's underneath the bar. It's gonna go the same with the PTFE tubing. So just line it up with that. We're gonna zip tie those together later on. I keep going up on the step here and getting my head out of frame. Jazzercise with me. All right, so we got both those in. So this big wide cable has the 2 connections on it. The first one goes up to the extruder, and then you got the one going to your hot end. It can only plug into one, so just walk it up, walk it up. Those ones that have the big locking tabs on them. You're gonna have some cables taped down on the bottom side here. So just take the tape off, get the cables out. Do that for shipping so nothing gets damaged. Anyways, so you got a group of wires. You got 3 on one side, 2 on the other. They should be labeled. They are different widths though, so they really only plug into one. Plug it in, plug it in. Voila! Plug it in, plug it in. Everything's plug it in, plug it in. Pretty simple now. We can start cutting all these zip ties. You're gonna see 2 up here on the Z-axis. You're gonna wanna cut that, and then there's one hidden below the plate. So you're gonna wanna make sure you cut that off. Otherwise, your stuff will not function properly. And then you're gonna zip tie, a couple zip ties to keep these together on your PTFE tubing and your cable there, which zip ties are included. There's also a zip tie back here behind the hot end. So any of these big white zip ties that you see on the unit, cut them off. They're just there for shipping. Thick boys. Alright. Boom. And you don't need to crank down on those zip ties. It doesn't need to be pinching the tube or anything. Don't go nuts. And what's it recommending after that? Everything is still tight, no side movements. I was just checking all my rollers, making sure there's no real, that one could be tightened up a little bit, because it's spinning pretty freely by hand. You can get a wrench on the back side there. I believe it's a 10 mil. You want to be able to spin it by hand but still have some tension on it. That's going to make sure there's no slop on the rails. And you can check these ones down here too. You've got adjustments on this side of the wheels to kind of select the plate. So you can check your wheels on the bottom side. You really should check those. That's a really good way to, get better prints. A lot of people overlook that and bed leveling. Those are kind of some of the important things to keep your machine printing properly. So that's just a 10 mil wrench, 10 mil open end. But you'll see some of the wheels have that hex shape on it that you can get the 10 mil on. They're eccentric bolts, so you can adjust the tension on those. There's plenty of videos out there showing you how to do that. And if you want, I can do a future video on that. So leave a comment down below if you want to see more 3D printing stuff. Mostly RC and automotive, but I do like to do some 3D printing videos. So if you want to see more, leave a comment down below. And if you want me to do an adjustment video, definitely let me know. I'd be happy to do it for you guys. It's pretty much set up. The most important thing about setting this up though is what I'm going to show you next. If you flip the machine around, you've got your power switch back here, and then you can see in here it's going to have a switch for the power supply. It's either going to be for 110 or 220 volt depending on your situation. They do come at 220 out of the box, so if you are in a 110 place, you definitely need to switch that before you even plug it in. Don't even plug it in, don't flip the switch, don't do anything. Switch that or else you will fry the power supply. And then you're basically SOL. So, flip that over, get a small screwdriver. I'm going to see if I can just do it with my 3 mil Allen. Sometimes they're labeled different. This one's labeled 115 and 230. But make sure you're either on the 100s or the 200s depending on your voltage situation. So I'm in the States here, we're 110. Flip it over to 110. That way we don't fry it and not even get to print anything. So flip that back around. We're pretty much ready to plug it in and fire it up. Probably put the filament rack in there too, huh? This is pretty simple. It just kind of clicks onto your railing system here. Boom. And kind of click it on the bottom, and it's got the footrest there. Just twist that in, slide it, lock it in place, and you've got your spool. Time to get this cable unwound, and power it on, and not get the magic smoke show. It's not an RC car that I wired myself, so I'm not too worried about it. We made sure the power supply was in the correct voltage, so that's the main thing. There we go. It's got music and everything. I mean, there's been more satisfying, but that was still pretty satisfying. And this display looks really good. All right, enough playing around. We can start messing with this. Nice touch screen. I'm excited to play around with this, see how responsive it is. Nice beeps. You can change the language. Voice. Voice. I'm assuming that's the beeps. Yeah. The voice in the system menu is your beeps. I don't know if it actually talks to you. I'm gonna leave it on. I wanna see if it ever says anything. But you turn it off and it stops beeping. So, you know, robot voice, right? Ones and zeros, beep. I think we're ready to get this thing loaded up with some filaments and do a test print. So, we gotta get the SD card in there and see if there's any files on it. If not, I'll put one of my files on it. So, you know, give me a second. All right, I put the memory card in there that it came with, the SD card. For those wondering, there is a 0.4mm nozzle included as a spare. There is already one in the system. So you got the spare one there, and then this, I think I said flash drive earlier. It is an SD card reader. It's a USB to SD card reader. So it's not a flash drive. That was just an error that came out of my mouth. Anyways, let's see if there's anything even loaded on here. We're gonna have to go pick out what we want to test print on the laptop. But we can go through and get our filaments loaded into the system. So if you want to preheat it, it's got this nice thing for filament in or filament removal. It's going to come up with an error if your machine's not at temperature already. So right now it's heating up to 230 C. Make it happen, Captain. Cut at a 45-degree angle. Otherwise you won't get it in. It's spitting goop out.
That's what she said.
Because they test print all these, so don't be surprised if it spits some goop out while it's heating up the first time. Anycubic does test all these from the factory to make sure you're getting a good unit. So the quality control process from them is actually testing them. That's why there was some stuff left in the nozzle. Don't be alarmed. It's brand new, why is there goop coming out? It's because they test them for you. So feed it through the filament sensor and then into the PTFE tubing that's on the inlet side of the extruder. You'd think that'd be obvious. All right, and it's manually feeding the filament in. So it should get it to come all the way through the tubing and out your nozzle, give you some drip to bleed the nozzle. Kind of nice not having to do it manually. There's a button down at the bottom on the screen to hit stop. So once it starts coming out, it's kind of going in sections, going a little bit, then it's stopping, going a little bit, stopping. You can see it coming out now, so you can hit stop. And then there is a button for filament removal, so it'll do the same thing in reverse to get your filament out so you can put the new one in. Kind of a more automated process as opposed to feeding it in and pulling it out yourself, which is a nice little feature to have because I kind of hate doing this on the Ender 3. Anyways, let's go get a file loaded and try printing something in white because that's what it came with and that's what I just loaded. So whatever we print first is going to be white. Let's do it! Alright, so I looked at that SD card. There's actually a file, a G-code on there for the owl that they give you. It's just under one of the subfolders. So I moved it to the main screen so I can just bring it up here. We're gonna do the auto bed leveling first though, because we haven't leveled the bed. Pair leveling, auto level. Now it's auto homing, and it's gonna go through its process, level the bed. And then after we do that, we can print an owl. I guess while it's doing that, I can kind of recap on the tools we used. You will need minimum 4mm Allen driver, 3mm Allen driver, hex head, for those of you that don't know Allen. 10mm open end wrench, this is going to be for adjusting your wheels. on all your axis. Make sure there's no slop. And then it will be nice to have side cutters, so when you're loading your filament, you can cut it at the 45-degree angle. That'll let it feed into the machine better. So far, I'm impressed. I haven't printed anything yet, obviously, because we're doing the leveling process. It's preheating, so it's going to preheat it for the leveling. Looks like 170 on the nozzle, on the hot end, and then 50 on the bed. So that's what it's heating up to, and then it's going to go through its process. And I think it's a 16 point, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, do that. We'll print it out, and we'll see how much better it is than the Ender 3 V2 that I already have. Auto level complete. Re-homing. Auto leveling done. Back to main menu. We can preheat it for PLA. Looks like it has it auto set. So the preheat for PLA is 60 on the bed and 190 on the hot end. And since we just did the auto level, it already preheated partially, so it should get there pretty quick. Back out, go to print. We've got al.g code. We will select that. It turns red to know that you've selected it, and then you can hit print and it'll do its thing. You do have a pause, a stop, and a settings that you can go through on the print menu, and then it'll show you status. You got your trucks, big trucks in the neighborhood. Anyways, you've got your print rate, your time, your progress and percentage, and then your current temperatures, and then what file. So let it do its thing. It's going up to, looks like 200 on the top, on the hot end, and 60 on the bed temp, and it's gonna start printing. All right, so we're gonna let that print the out. We're gonna wrap this video up here though, kind of give you my first impressions. I think this would be a very good beginner printer, just solely based on how easy it is to set up. The features that you're getting with it, it's less than the $400 printer, so it's really not that big of a price tag. It's not a Prusa where you're, even on the small one, you're spending, you know, over that. So you get good print volume, really easy setup, especially compared to the Creality Ender 3 V2 that I have. Any other Ender 3s from Creality can be a little bit more involved as far as setup and stuff. That wasn't too bad, but you get a dual Z-axis, you get auto bed leveling, nice build plate, a lot of good features like the auto feed and auto retract for doing filament swaps, stuff like that. So time will tell if it's going to do good quality prints, which it should based on everything I've seen. So yeah, I think it's a very good beginner printer. I would probably go with this over the Ender 3 V2 unless you're on a real strict budget, because you can get that for less than $300. But if you spend the extra $100 on this, $100 or so, really good printer. The only thing I would like to see is maybe include some tools with it. I think that would be a nice little add-in, little basic set of Allen drivers, just the stuff you need to do the initial setup on it. A little 10 mil open end wrench, and then a 3 mil and a 4 mil Allen driver. Would be nice to be included with it, but if you're like me, you got a toolbox in the garage and you've got all the stuff anyway, or if you have another printer, odds are you have some Allen keys that came with that. Other than that, you are going to want a set of side cutters. These came with the Ender 3 V2, but you can pick those up relatively cheap. I will leave links to all this stuff down in the description, some tools, the printer itself, everything I'm using here. As well as maybe some links to some of the filament I like using. On the Ender 3 V2, I've had really good luck with like eSun and Sunlu off of Amazon. Of course, there's the Amain stuff for doing the multicolor filament and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, check the links down below. Follow me on social media. All those links are down below. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. You can see some little clips that I do with all this stuff, as well as the RC stuff and the full scale automotive stuff. Leave a comment down below if this video helped you out, if it made you, you know, make a decision on what printer you were gonna get. If you're looking at the Anycubic Vyper, I think so far, really good. I do like the touchscreen on it, it's very responsive for what I've done so far. It has, in this video, you've seen me push all the buttons, and what I've pushed is what it's done. So yeah, really good printer. I think this would be a great beginner printer, great starter printer, as well as, you know, something that's just gonna carry you through. So the only thing I would think to upgrade would be if you wanted bigger build volume. Obviously you're gonna need a bigger printer for that. But the Anycubic line so far, this is my first Anycubic printer, it's the Vyper. Pretty impressed. I was really impressed with the Ender 3V2 as my first printer. I thought it printed really good quality and everything right out of the box for, you know, around 250 bucks. This is around 350 bucks. Slightly bigger build volume, but all the added features as well as the dual Z axis and everything. So I'm excited to print with both of them. Let me know if you want more 3D printed videos. Leave a comment down below. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and as always, I will see you in the next one. So not only does the Anycubic Vyper have a filament sensor, it'll auto feed and auto retract to do filament swaps, dual Z axis, nice bed plate, touchscreen, auto leveling. It's got a freaking light on the hot end there.